Welcome to The Faithful Steward. This is a podcast all about sharing biblical wisdom and practical insights in order to help church leaders pursue and teach financial freedom as part of Christian discipleship. We believe this is a spiritual conversation, and this is a place where the church needs to lead the way in order to move our communities forward in how we steward God's resources. I'm your host, James Lenhoff, and I am so passionate about this conversation and helping leaders have the confidence to step into it. We believe that if we help people thrive financially and grow spiritually, it changes everything. And I am so excited to join you on this journey. This podcast is brought to you by Good Sense. If you'd like more information about what we're up to, you can go to our website at goodsensemovement.org. All right, let's get started with today's conversation. Today we're going to talk about quiet quitting. Quiet quitting is a phenomenon that has really expanded out of the pandemic, that as people were struggling through kind of the listlessness and the sense of lost identity, and work got really weird during that season, people started to just show up and not really do their work, just kind of be present, but be emotionally, relationally, mentally checked out. And that started to become this thought, this name of quiet quitting, that people were effectively quitting their job, but hanging on as long as their employer would let them, continue to just show up, but not actually do much. And what I want to talk about today is how, one, that phenomenon has expanded and what it's meaning to the purpose of work, but also how we square that with our call to be diligent earners. That as we think about God's gift to us of our skill, our talent, and the breath in our lungs, how we should be honoring Him by being diligent earners. It's one of the core ideas that we share and Freed Up at Good Sense. And it is really important for us not just to honor God that way, but it's important for us to live that out because it helps us find purpose and meaning in our day. And so it is really important that we navigate this. If you are leading people who you see as quiet quitters, they're basically just kind of phoning in their work, or maybe you've had seasons where you feel like you've been a quiet quitter, this is a really important conversation for us to engage with each other in, because we should not be doing that. I believe if we are honoring God with our work, the last thing we should be is a quiet quitter. Work is part of the equation. It always has been. I mean, there was work in the garden before the fall. This was always part of the design, that we would be co-creators, that we would be productive, that we would show up and be adding value to whatever it is that we're doing. It's part of our value as a human. It's part of what we bring to the equation relationally in the teams that we're working on. And so we should be intentional about the work that we do. It's not like that is a new idea. Colossians tells us to do our work as unto the Lord, to be effectively working to His glory and for His kingdom. And yet we are really seeing this trend where people have started to just disengage. They've stopped caring about their work. They've stopped wanting to really put the effort in and to give of themselves into whatever it is that they're doing. And in a lot of ways, that makes sense. In a lot of ways, we have disconnected the meaning and the purpose from the work that we're doing. If we're working from home, we're working remotely, we're not doing any relational connection very often. We're just showing up on a computer and banging away on different tasks. It can start to steal from us the relational value, the intentionality of it, because we feel really lonely and really isolated. And we tend to shut down as humans when we are outside of relationship. We become less and less motivated because the whole point is relationship. God as a Trinity has always been showing us that the point of everything is to be in interdependent, deep connected relationship. And so as we've moved further and further away from each other because of the pandemic, when work got really spread out and really isolated, we haven't recovered. We haven't gotten back fully to that relational connection, that team sense, that idea that we are part of something, that we're all pushing and pulling together. We're trying to make something happen. We're just somewhere isolated, banging away on the computer. So it makes sense. I get where the quiet quitting is coming from. But the problem is our response to this call to be productive and intentional can run really the gamut. On one side, you have what we would call kind of the driven earners, or the relentless earners, the people that are sacrificing everything for more money. They are climbing the corporate ladder. They are giving everything they have to their career, to the degree that they are actually missing family and connection and relationships that matter because they're so focused on their career. And we don't want to be in that camp either. And then you have on the other far end of the extreme, this disinterested earner. They're just trading time for money. They're punching the clock. And this would be kind of that quiet quitter approach. They're punching the clock. They're doing the bare minimum. They're basically just flying under the radar and doing enough to not get fired, but doing very little in reality. They're not adding a lot to the team. They're just kind of staying invisible and disconnected and getting paid along the way. That disinterested earner is not what God is calling us to either. So we don't want to be that driven, relentless earner that sacrifices everything that matters. And we also don't want to be this disconnected, disinterested earner. We want to be a diligent earner. And what that looks like in our mind is that we show up with intention. We recognize that this exchange that we have with our employer is not time for money, it's value for money. Our job is to show up and add value, to be valuable to the team. And that is a role we should be playing because it is honoring to God's kingdom. It is also something that points to Him. If we are disconnected, disinterested, and doing as little as possible, it is not something that is serving as a witness to the kingdom. It's not honoring God. It's not pointing to the giftings that we have and that He has given us. We are not putting our gifts on display and honoring God by saying, this is who I have been made to be. This is what I bring to the table. We are missing so much opportunity to be a witness in the workplace. It's funny, I was sharing at an event that I spoke at a year or two ago, and I asked the question, who here is in full-time ministry? And a few hands went up. And I'm sure as I'm talking to you on the podcast, several of you would say, yeah, I'm in full-time ministry. I'm leading a church. I'm on staff for some parachurch ministry. Yeah, I'm in full-time ministry. The problem is we all are in full-time ministry. And until every hand goes up in every room we're in, we cannot see the kingdom expand. We won't see the kingdom take more ground unless we all recognize that part of the work we're doing, whatever that work is, if you are working on a computer doing coding or website design, or you are working in a machine shop, or you are a plumber, or you are an electrician, or anything that you're doing, you are in full-time ministry. You are in the work of the kingdom while you're doing that work. Ministry is not just something that professional Christians do. It's what all believers should be doing. And in my mind, part of that is showing up and giving everything that you can, adding as much value as possible to whatever the work is that you put your hand to. That is what it looks like to bring glory to the kingdom of God. If we are showing up and we are quiet quitting instead, we are telling the rest of our team that they don't matter, that they're insignificant, that our own comfort, our own self-indulgence matters more than they do. That our decisions to do the bare minimum and only what's required in order to not lose our job, that is what actually matters, rather than showing up and saying, you matter to me. What do you need? How can I add value? How can I impact the work that we're doing? How can I join forces with you, link arms with you to bring this thing to life? That is so much more beautiful. It's so much more life-giving. It is acknowledging the value of others on your team. And I don't care if that is for a boss that doesn't see you, that doesn't treat you well, that doesn't acknowledge that work. The point is not to work for your boss. The point is to work for the Lord, to submit our efforts, the work of our hands, to his glory. And that looks like seeing your teammates as valuable and worthy of your effort. It looks like seeing the work that you're doing as valuable and worthy of your value being added to it. Even if it feels mundane, even if the work that you're doing feels insignificant or monotonous, we show up as diligent earners to bring as much value to that monotonous work as possible, not because the goal is the website or the goal is the coding or the machine work or that plumbing project. The goal is to honor God with our work. The goal is to see others on our team and be in intentional ministry to them. Diligent earning is a beautiful thing. It is a worthy endeavor. It is the work we are called to. It's not just for those that are on staff for a church to be Jesus wherever they go. It is for us, wherever we go. Whatever work you're stepping into, whether that's in an office or it's in a manufacturing facility, we bring Jesus into those spaces when we show up as diligent earners. We are witnessing to the kingdom when we put all of our effort into it and acknowledge that that effort is for his glory. He gave us the skill, the talent, the breath in our lungs to invest into this thing. And so that's why we do it. You know, I see a lot of times people stepping into quiet quitting because they can't feel this sense of meaning and purpose in the work that they do. It's boring. It's annoying. It's monotonous. Yes, it's all those things. It's work. Part of the fall was that we would have toil. Toil is now part of the equation. Welcome to humanity. Toil is the deal. It will always be part of the work that we do. It is not toil-free anymore. It may have been in the garden at the beginning, but now part of the fall is that we will experience that sense of just drudgery. We will scrape and scrap and fight the ground to create something. We will be constantly in this sense of toil. It's part of the deal, but that doesn't mean that it is not worth our effort and our investment. It just means that we're going to experience that discomfort. That's okay. God is still worth the toil that we bring. God is still worthy of our investment and our giving of ourselves and of the talent that he gave us in order to move things forward, even if they're boring. In fact, I would argue it's when they are boring that he is most glorified. When we show up with all the intention and all of the focus and all of the motivation and we pour ourselves out into something that everybody else thinks is boring, it turns their head. They have to ask the question, why? Why are you so passionate about this? And when people have asked me that question, why are you so passionate about this spreadsheet or this work or that thing that's obviously just monotonous and boring? I'm not passionate about that. I am passionate about honoring God with the work of my hands. That's what I'm passionate about. And I will do that at every turn, whatever the work is, always, because that's what he's called me to do. That's what it looks like for us to be diligent earners. And so what I want to encourage you, if you are leading this conversation, if you are in a church setting, you are leading a small group, you are having this conversation with people who might be quiet quitting, remind them that their work is not the monotonous computer work or the lonely coding that they're doing or the plumbing work or the electrical work. Their work is showing up in a way that honors God and is diligent and productive and intentional. It is bringing Jesus wherever they go. They are all in full-time ministry, whether they know it or not. And if we start to catch a vision for bringing Jesus into those places and honoring him by seeing our teammates and recognizing their value and their worth and pouring ourselves out into the work of our hands, being diligent earners is critical, not just for our own experience of meaning and purpose and showing up every day, but it is incredibly important for the people around us to know that they are seen and loved, that they are valuable beyond belief. And we show them that by treating them that way. We show them that by doing the work in a way that brings glory to the kingdom. This is the work of being a diligent earner. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Faithful Steward podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes for links and other information that we mentioned in today's episode. Also, be sure to check out our website at goodsensemovement.org to get all the resources we offer churches to help equip them in teaching financial stewardship to their community. If you have any questions or any topics you want to make sure we cover on our show, you can email me at jameslenhoff@goodsensemovement.org. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you all have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.